It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Good evening, Kate.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for accepting the invitation. I am honored. Oh, my goodness. You were the first, but young person, to be interviewed, and I'm looking forward. Already your bio is very interesting. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, my name's Kate Gondry. I am a filmmaker and also a student. I attend Emerson College, and I think I'm a Malawi American, and I grew up in Wichita, Kansas, but I also have a lot of experience abroad, and so there's a little bit of a mix of cultures within me.
Well, this is so enriching. I'm grateful to Divas That Care, a program that's focusing on women. I call it a program for women, by women, through women, global. I'm at home, really, with this. It's wonderful. And I'm grateful to the founder and all my sisters all over the world who are making sure that this is very successful. So, welcome. Well, reading your bio, I can see that you are action-oriented, solution-oriented. You want to see clearly, quickly impact others. Oh, my goodness, so much. And I'm saying, this is a young person here. You want to impact others. In what way do you want to impact others?
Yeah, so as I said, I'm a filmmaker, but I guess overall I would like to see how I can use my passion to create action, because I do believe that there is power in art and with whatever medium that you choose to use. I know we've spoken before, and you said that writing to you, your pen is the weapon. And I think for me, the camera would be just so. And I think I'm more concerned on what can I do within my work that, can talk about and bring awareness to people that are unheard, but also just create work that kind of explores my own journey, which is one that is very complex. And I am grateful that, as I said, I grew up in the Midwest, and my family's from Malawi, and so I had this complete multicultural experience growing up, because I am, a Black woman, but I'm also Malawian, but I'm also American, and so there's a lot of, I think, throughout my life, I was always put in this gray area, and it's really encouraging to see that there are tons of artists now not tons, but there are more artists now who are able to speak on this, because I relate to a lot of them, which is something I didn't think I had when I was younger. But I think we're all, especially because of globalization, we're all becoming more aware of the complex identity and like what that even means and what's within it, and the immigrant story, and like the first generation kid, like what is that all about? And so for me, using my work to talk on that, but also because I had that experience, I'm able to hopefully make work that speaks on a lot of other things, issues that might not necessarily impact me, but maybe something that I've seen. And so just talking about that, but then also what can I do as an individual to make sure that every step in my career is used to not just uplift myself, but everyone around me and others for a positive future. And so thinking of more ways to implement long-lasting change, and some of that change is obviously the change that most of us have been talking about because of the current climate of the world and in America.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
That's exciting. You know, this summer sociologist, W.E.B. Du Bois, talked about double consciousness. On one hand, you're black. On the other hand, you are American. But it's more complex than that. Then you can add on the woman, and you can add on the age, and you can add on the immigrant status, and you can add, be first generation, American. This can cause, kind of a dizzying effect where you feel kind of, like falling maybe, but it also creates leadership, because when you have all these identities around you, that is a tremendous leadership. You will stand with this group here and really understand them so well. You are such a global citizen. It's hard to be, put in one corner there, because you do identify with so many. Isn't that wonderful? It's exciting. Yeah, so you can be a bridge. Yeah, a bridge. So I truly appreciate that, the fact that you are aware of that, even at your age, and you are future-oriented. Even you are seeing this, pandemic that came and shocked all of us. We had plans. I'm sure you had plans, and now we are here. But you are seeing it as a new beginning, which I like. There is a future, there is a new beginning, and then you're talking about over an artist. Then you're talking about true wisdom, enlightenment. What does that power of an artist mean to you? What makes the artist powerful?
Yeah. Well, I think the most powerful thing is we're able to expose a lot of the reality of life. And so I think for me, I think when I look at a work, there's a lot of like nonsense work that's out there, right? There's stuff that doesn't actually implement thought or critical analysis, and it's hard because I think you can debate if that's art or not. And I think true art is the art that implements that action, that ability to see the reality, and thoroughly, I think, transform it into their own experience. And so I think there are artists who are really great at it, telling their own stories, but then there are artists who can completely look at another I would say, like culture or world or whatever it is, and they're able to thoroughly critically analyze that culture and bring their own culture into it, and that's something that I think for myself I'm really interested in, because I have this American side to me, but I also have this Malawian side to me. And I think for me, that power of art is connecting those two worlds together. So someone who has never experienced, what it's like to be in Africa, or someone who's never experienced being around, a culture that I am a part of, they can at least watch my work and have some sort of idea of what it is, but also it's our job as an artist to really be critical and really make sure that we're making art that does implement true, especially when we're working with subject matter that is so I think there's so much power in art because it does control a lot of society. I mean, the fact that you have literature that has been banned because of the actual action that it's implemented in our society just is telling to what art does. And that's not just in literature, that's in film, that's in so many different mediums of art. And it's like there is so much power because it's the human mind through art, and there's something, that connection a human can have with a piece of art in any medium can really, there's action in that. And I think the action within that art is the most powerful thing. And that's why, there are a lot of,
And you put it so well. And you know how connected we are. You are a young person, and here I am, but through the story, as you know, I'm a storyteller, poet, drummer. You find that connection with whoever. As you said, you go to Africa in a village there, and you capture a story somewhere. Maybe it's, people going farming or doing whatever. Someone here in the Midwest, someone in Canada, wherever they can identify, with those human activities, even language. Yeah. I have a poem called I Have a Language. I can speak. If only you let me share with you my language. And what language can just be words, but also experience. And then that connects us as human beings, a common humanity that the Africans call Ubuntu. Actually, the academy I've shared with you, the Peace Academy that I'm setting up, is about that, Ubuntu, our common heritage as human beings. We can come together. We don't need to be divided over trivial things. So that's what you're doing. People can see themselves in that grandmother or whoever, that child somewhere in Asia, in Africa, and and they all have solutions to our problems. Isn't that something? So more power to you as you continue with your work. And even food can connect us. My goodness. Many times I talk about hot dogs and hush puppies and people laugh. But, taken literally. Oh, we are one. We are connected. And thank you for your work. Continue on. Change the world. So, something else you wanted me to ask you about was the academic life, what it means to be a college, university student. And here I'm learning from you because I'm on the other side, the professor side, but let me hear what that is like. Yeah. So, any comments on that experience?
Yeah. I think, and in this entire interview, I'm only speaking for myself. But I think for me, when I went to college, it was to, learn more about myself and explore. And it was a lot about I. It was never about. It was very much a selfish act. And I think most college students, it's our time to be selfish and really just kind of focus on ourselves. But I think there's something harmful in that because for me, it wasn't until I think I had to, I was in the East Coast and I had to go back home because COVID hit. And that time since then, I think it's been 4 months now, being home, it has really helped me to really not be selfish and really wake up because I think there's so many of us, especially if you're living in, the Western world, it's we have so many privileges and we the more privileges that you have, depending on, your social economic status or whatever it be, the easier it is to forget, to stay comfortable, to not want to think about all of the issues that are happening in the world. And we're finally at a time where it's impacting everyone. And so we all had to wake up. And for me, it has been beneficial in that. And despite all of the loss and pain that has occurred in this world, I think the most beneficial thing to come out of this is that awakening of people. And we all seem to be awake. And I think we should not, waste our energy on short-term solutions. We should think of long-term solutions. We should start thinking about living our lives not just in service to our own, but in service to others, and not looking at, I would say, not looking to gain anything in return, but just to give. Because I think for so long, I think even like the idea, because I'm a film major at my school, and I think the idea of like what Hollywood is like this, so it's just changed for me, and I don't want to participate in it. I would rather much function in a way that I can reach, and I can be in a space that is cultivating a community that strives off of community and strives off of in service to each other. I'm not much concerned in competition, although I know that is what life is, the current life that we're living. And so I think it is important to understand that. But I think if we as humans and as citizens, we can start looking at each other and seeing how can you use, and understanding like why it is that we're different and what struggles that might be systemic, that might be whatever it is, that make us different, and what can I do as an active citizen, work on to not only live in service to, my own passions, but also to you. And I think life will be more meaningful, because being home, it's kind of like, what is the meaning of life? Like, what am I doing? What is my purpose? It's like I'm asking myself a lot of these questions, because, we're in a time where I think we should be asking these things, because, so much has been lost. And so we are the fortunate ones, and we should not live our life, without purpose. I don't think. I think if anything, we should be questioning. So I think for college students, for myself, I think a lot of us are questioning the college system, because, for me, I'm a middle class. I'm fortunate enough to be in a middle class family, but still going to the college that I went to, a private college, and taking out loans for it, and going to one of, the top liberal arts schools for my specific major. What does that mean? Well, that means I'm in, company with some of the richest people in the States. And so what does that mean in terms of the education value in relation to maybe a film major that at a state level, and why is that? And so kind of like questioning a lot of things that have been in place and we've just been so complicit to, is something that a lot of my college friends, we've been debating and discussing, and free thinking, because, I don't think it's a learning process for everyone. And I'm just more interested in learning and listening and discussing my own knowledge, but also being okay with changing my ideas if I find new ways. But I think for college students, it's that, but then again, debating what is the purpose of college, and what, for me, I'm going there to be a filmmaker. I'm so grateful that I attend a school that I have teachers and professors who are looking at filmmaking the way that I want to, and so I really do see the benefit in academia, and I think there is power to it, but it's like, who is it benefiting, and what can we do to make it more accessible? Because I think, with COVID and everything, there's going to be a lot of students who can't go back to school. And so it's very frustrating as a student to see all of this and not be able to have the power to fix it.
That is excellent. The preacher in me is saying, Amen. To those who much is given, much is expected.
Yes.
I know that you apologize for, the privileges. For example, I consider myself privileged because I come from, a family of teachers, and there were many students that I grew up with who couldn't make it because I didn't have what I had. So coming here, I have to sow. Yeah, we have to sow in there. Use what we have, what we've been given, and even some of the unfortunate circumstances. I think that, my grandmother lost her entire family in battle, and therefore I don't have that typical extended family system, and all that, but at the same time, from her struggles and how she overcame, I can teach and share that we're here. That is wonderful. Now, of course, I can't live without asking you this question. How about issues of gender? Do you think time has come for women to take leadership, positions, and in what way? Do you see any struggle in there or not? Or maybe women have arrived, what do you think about that?
If you want to look at the facts, I think there's still a clear need for women's issues to be discussed because, although there has been much progression, there's still time and need for progress. And I think if you look at how the economy even benefits women's issues being an issue that gets discussed and gets solutions, one can argue that it is necessary. And I think for me, it's hard because I know the privilege I have being a woman in the U.S. versus being a woman in a different nation or part of the world where it is a lot more difficult. And so what does that mean? I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. I think for me, it's like with the privilege that I do have, and still acknowledging the privileges that I do lack because there is intersectionality within what it means to be a woman because being a woman also, there are many different kinds of women. And I think, I can only speak on myself as a Black woman that changes versus a white woman. And so for me, what are the issues that we face as women as a whole is extremely important to be discussed. But for the majority of time in the U.S., issues and topics on women's rights, which are a human right issue, has only been discussed for white women. And so for me, as a Black woman, I think it's now our time to also be brought onto the table of discussion. And I think that is something I'm very interested in talking about, obviously. But I also see the benefit. And I think there is something really encouraging to see that there are more Black women being able to, go to higher education, but also what are the issues when we are in white collar or blue collar jobs? What are the issues that we face at that level? But also, and I'm only speaking in the States. So for me, I think obviously there are many issues that we can discuss about women's issues and I don't think that we should. I know it's hard because it just seems to be that for so long we've become so used to make human rights issues political when they're just human rights issues, and so it's hard to talk on these issues as well because it's like very
Yes.
it becomes complicated. But I think, I don't know, for me, as a woman, it's like, well, what do I want to do? I mean, I'm entering an industry that statistically, I mean, more than 90% of the industry is not run by women. So what does that mean for me? I am going to face a lot of battles, but I do have women around me who are in the industry that are fighting and are warriors and are, you know, I'm amazed by their presence, but I also see their worth, and I want their worth to be met with the capital that they should be just as much as the men that are in these positions. So, you know, when we talk about these issues, it's like we are still in a structure where we do need to talk about capital. So when we talk about these issues and we talk about women's issues, we should also be talking about the economic issues that are being faced with them, as well as the human rights issues, because they all connect and correlate.
Yes.
But I would love to know more about globally on the issues that women face globally. And I think it's hard because if in your own backyard there are issues, it's hard to look at another person's. But I think it's important because in order for ours to be fixed, we also need to fix everywhere else. So for me, it's just being young, just further learning and progressing. And I'm just grateful that I have women around me of all ages and all races and from different backgrounds where I can really just, you know, listen to them. And that's how I think for myself, my thought process on what feminism, what womanism is, helps me progress. And I think it's constantly going to change as time evolves. And some people are going to be more, accepting of it, and others are going to be held back because we are the comfort that comes with it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. It's complex, as you said, but being aware, you know, and at your age, and being willing to learn. Of course, there are, you know, issues that connect us all. You know, wherever you find yourself on the globe, there is the issue of patriarchy, the man rules that goes through all the institutions, whether it's education, religion, you name it, economy, transcends even race, you know, transcends even the culture or nation where you are. For example, there is this concept of relative vis-a-vis absolute deprivation. So you'll go to some cultures and find women deprived of the basics. Oh, my goodness, just the basics, you know, because of the patriarchy. You know, in some societies, you know, a young man can be sent to school, but, I mean, things are changing, but a young woman go and get married and young, and sometimes there is a lot of abuse, but absolute, lacking health care. But then in affluent societies, you know, you might be doing very well, but suffering from relative deprivation. For example, in America, you are told, hey, well, you go and we can go for whatever we want, but a woman will meet the glass ceiling somewhere. You know, when she has all the qualifications and everything else, and she's told, you cannot pass this. So that also is not okay, you know, psychologically, emotional, and everything else. Why? I have what this one takes. So it is complex, and the more we can dialogue and share our stories, the more we'll find the connections, the more we will find the solutions coming from everywhere. You know, even that other woman there who may be lacking the basics, you know, no car, no health care, nothing, has some solutions, and we need to hear them. And so does the woman who is maybe in Congress or, you know, wherever. Yeah, and that's what is lacking, and that's why we appreciate divas that care, at least starting the conversation, and we are liberating everyone, setting everyone free. You know, men won't be left out when a woman, you know, takes charge, the man should feel okay because our goals are different. The children should be okay. And all that indeed needs to be taught and shared. Yes, indeed. Appreciate this time together. You have a very, very bright future. Is there anything else you'd like to share that I may have left out?
I think it's a subject that we could talk about because you raised a family in the U.S., but so your kids are first generation, and I think for me, it's a subject that kind of gets left behind, especially right now when a lot of people are, everyone's talking about race relations in the U.S. and what that means, and I think for me, it opened up a lot of, I think, internal racism that I had that was because of I grew up in a completely white majority neighborhood and town, and then also going to the private school that I went to that was also completely majority white, and also the socioeconomic backgrounds of most of those individuals tended to be upper class. And so for me, when we talk about race, it's very complex because I also understand that there are many, and I think what doesn't get talked a lot in the media is that there are many different identities of blackness. Black is monolithic. There is not just one black. And so for me, my black experience is different than maybe a friend that I have who's an African American and family has ties to the U.S. longer than mine. And so for me, what does that mean in my position with all of this is different. And
it is.
And it's interesting because it's not talked about a lot about. I think it's something that should be discussed more because, I'm able to see it in a different light. And I think it's opened a lot of, oh, wow, I now understand why certain things are the way that they are. And for me, I have the privilege of, this white assimilation because when you're an immigrant, your parents are told, I mean, it's a sad truth, but I think a lot of African kids are told to act a certain way and be a certain way, and we focus on education and it's all of these things trying to be like, I don't know, I've seen this term, the good black, go around, and it's like this whole notion that, we looking and acting a certain way and being grateful and all of these things, and we're able to be in the spaces that, someone else cannot be in. And what does that mean and why? And sort of breaking that down to the core. And that has been interesting for me because I've realized a lot of toxic, I think, notions that go around our own African community that should be discussed and raised in terms of, our relationship to race in America and how how it plays out in our community.
Yes. Very good point. My firstborn daughter, Juliet, who lives in Atlanta, she and her younger sister were born in Uganda before I came here. So they came here when they were 7 and 9, okay?
Yeah. And
then in America, I had 3 more, okay? So I called them the Ugandan brand and the American brand. Okay. Of course, now they have kind of come closer, but still, So Juliet, the firstborn, pointed out something recently which she hadn't voiced before. She said, we who were born there, even when we grew up here, she came here when she was 9, really, speaks, she's just an American, grew up in Iowa, went to Oxford College in Iowa and all that, KU here, no. But she said, we the two of us have different experiences, and are treated differently, different from the ones that were born here. So I thought that was very, very fascinating. And she said the strengths that we have, for example, she has this international business, weaving and sewing and whatever else, making beads, things she learned from the village in Africa, from her grandmother, my mother. But also, because she wasn't born here, she thought the younger ones who were born here have certain advantages. And we used to be seen differently. Now, of course, they have caught up. But I thought that was so interesting. And of course, when those ones came in, we didn't have much, immigrants, when the ones who were born here were born, we were a little bit more comfortable, speaking of material comfort, they got cars earlier and all that. But these are great that they came. However, I said, we need to discuss more of that, because I didn't know that was an issue.
Yeah, and
it is an issue even with boyfriends and whatever. Of course, now she has 2 children and all. But interesting. Isn't that so wonderful to know? Yeah.
For
my
me,
goodness. And of course, we could talk about language and accents and everything. So it's more complex than just, race and, on the surface. But the conversation is what starts, opening up the dialogue. Then we can share and change this world for the better. I truly appreciate you, and thanks again to Divas That Care for providing us this opportunity. You are such a bright young lady. As I said, you're welcome anytime to my class. Come and give that speech. Oh, my goodness. Yes.
There's one last thing. I think I would like to highly encourage anyone that's listening, with whatever it is, occupation or passion that you have, use it to not only in service to yourself but for others, and think of long-term change, because I've been seeing a lot of short-term change in which it doesn't really contribute to a lasting action and solution. So we need to be thinking about all the problems that we face, but we need to be thinking about the solutions that aren't just temporary. We need to be thinking about solutions that can make sure that 100 years from now, that problem is no longer a problem. And that's hard, and it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of discomfort. So I highly encourage anyone to do that and implement. And I hope that as I go on and hopefully continue trying to do that I don't lose hope. And I'm inspired by individuals such as yourself who have lived their life like that. And so it's wonderful to see on this level, and it's also wonderful to see in the film industry that I've been a part of.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. I will bake you some more banana bread, okay? I will bring you your own loaf, okay?
Thank you.
Not just a piece, but your own loaf. Remember, I just learned to bake banana bread. I'm so proud of myself. And so, hey, your banana bread is on the way, my dear. And thank you for all the lessons that you have given me,
Thank you. I wish I had more thorough points, but thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure. Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.